Carson Palmer joins us this morning here on the show. Carson, good morning.
Yeah, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure, man. I'm doing great. Thanks so much for joining us. And this is a great subject, I think, for football life because your career has had so many different layers, whether it was where you played in the NFL or your college career or the injury, et cetera. So it feels like there's so much to get into. If we start back and when you decided to go to USC, that was before the glory days of the Pete Carroll, Reggie Bush era. So when you decided in the late 90s to attend USC, what drew you there?
Well, I grew up in Southern California. In Southern California, SC is SC. I mean, the tradition, the history, playing at the Coliseum, getting to play close to my family and friends. They could come to games. And as you said, it was before the glory days. SC was so dominant in the 70s and early on. And then, when I had gone there, it had been a while since there had been much to cheer about, much to be happy about. And I kind of wanted to be a part of, helping to bring that back. And then after I left and the dominance with the Pete Carroll era, it was very proud. I was excited to watch all of that and to be a very, very small part of that resurgence of the program. And, it's such a special place and such a great education, so many great teachers and professors and the coaches I got to play for. So I was very, very blessed with that opportunity to attend SC.
I would say that you had a huge influence on bringing back that program. You end up winning the Heisman Trophy, and from there they just kind of ascended, won national championships, etc. Bringing back a program, bringing back a fan base to glory days, I wonder, did you feel a little bit of a reset in that when you went to Cincinnati, because they had not made the playoffs in 15 years. They had not had a winning record in 15 years. And then you were finally able to get them there in 2005 and do all of that. Clearly, there were in glory years like USC. But did it feel like kind of doing the same thing, kind of a repeat of what you went to USC for when you were drafted by the Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, back then I was young and dumb. I thought, well, they've been really bad for a long time. Well, I'll go there and change that, and we'll win a bunch of Super Bowls. And I was naive. I was 20-something years old. I was young. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and that it's just not that simple, and it doesn't happen like that. So it wasn't quite the same feeling, but I'll never forget that first year. I mean, I think the year before, my last year in college, I think they won maybe one game. Maybe one or two games, and then for us to win the AFC North a couple years later and have a home playoff game, and I don't know how many years it had been. Unfortunately, that game ended pretty quick on the second play of the game, but it was a special time those first couple of years in Cincinnati.
Carson Palmer joins us this morning here on the show. He's got A Football Life done by NFL Films, NFL Network coming up this Friday, which is always such a fantastic series. I'm sure your series will delve into the hit by Kimo von Alhoffen in that game in 2005. I mean, on that throw, you hit Chris Henry for a 66-yard hit, and, the crowd's going crazy, and it feels like this whole new era of Cincinnati Bengals football, and then there you are on the turf. I know you played 9 years after that hit and had a lot of successful seasons after that, but did you feel like your career was altered permanently with that hit?
No. I mean, that was just one of the challenges throughout my entire career and one of the challenges in the process and something that helped shape and mold me into the player and the man I am today. And it was very unfortunate. There's no doubt about that. But, everybody's got a different journey and a different process. And that was a part of mine. It was kind of like right when my career took off, there was this huge hurdle and this huge, massive thing to overcome. And it was just part of my journey and part of my process. And, yeah, I would love to have won the Super Bowl that year, and to lose to the Steelers and then watch them go on and win it was tough. But everybody's got a different process and a different journey, and that was where mine took me.
What is the most significant lesson that you took out of that experience?
Just how quick it can change. That was my first Pro Bowl year, and I finished, somewhere in the top couple of MVP votes at the end of the year and didn't win that. But everything was, headed in the right direction. And, there was so much excitement. And then all of a sudden, start from scratch, and you got to go through reconstructive knee surgery. And I had a bad one that first time, so it took a lot of hard work. It took a lot of time, and as everything's rolling along so great, you get it. You win the AFC North, you get a home playoff game, and then two plays into the game, it's over. You just realize how fast it can be taken away from you. And you look at somebody like Andrew Luck, who is on top of the world, and then he has this shoulder injury, and then he doesn't play for a handful of years. I think he probably went through kind of the same feeling of, man, everything, I was riding high and everything just stopped and halted. And you just realize how precious a career is, and how precious the game of football can be, and how quickly it can have you stand on the sidelines and with crutches and a T-shirt on while your teammates are out there playing.
In Cincinnati, it felt like polar opposites, you and Chad Johnson, then Chad Ochocinco. You were never one to draw attention to yourself, and he always was one to seek out that attention. Did that cause any clashes between you two? Was it hard at times trying to build a football relationship when he was seemingly built differently in attention-seeking?
Not even for a second. I love Chad to this day. Chad was one of the guys that shaped me. Chad, one thing that people don't know about Chad is the tireless worker that he was. Chad put so much time and effort into his craft, and we spent summers together. We would go down to other, we went to an Indianapolis Colts game on Monday night to watch Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning work, and we spent hours and hours and hours in the off season together, training and throwing and working on routes and working on different routes. He and I are built very differently as far as as what you were alluding to with the attention and stuff, and that's who Chad was, and that's one of the things I loved about Chad. So we never had turmoil, or we had miscommunications, and we fought like brothers, just like any teammate does, and any two teammates that have so much pressure and stress, and so much, there's so many people that wanted, us to be a certain way, and we acted, the way we each acted and put our work in, and we had some amazing years together. I mean, he had some dominant years where he led the league in every statistical category, and that was all because of his hard work. And that's one thing I learned from Chad is it doesn't matter how many Pro Bowls you've been to or how much success you've had individually, you can't stop working. And that's one thing Chad never did.
That's a really great insight on Chad Johnson, Chad Ochocinco. Carson Palmer joins us here on the show. You end up getting traded to Oakland in 2011. Over those two seasons, you only ended up winning 4 games per in each of those seasons. How did you feel in your time in Oakland?
It was odd. There's no doubt. I got traded there the week that Al Davis died. So it was an odd time. It was just an odd time structurally from a organizational standpoint. Al had been such a figure within that organization and such a decision maker. And then when he was gone, there was some turmoil and there was some crazy changes in the roster because there were so many salary cap issues from years past and so much turnover. And it was an odd time, but there's nothing like playing for the Oakland Raiders. There's nothing like being in the black hole, being a part of the Raider Nation, going to play against, the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota and showing up at the team hotel and there's 4,000 fans sitting there waiting as you enter the hotel. And every stadium you go into, the Raider Nation is there no matter where you're playing in this country. So that part was special. I mean, there's a handful of guys that I still love to this day that I had a chance to play with and be teammates with. And it was definitely an odd time and a weird a roller coaster, part of my career. But there is something special about the Raider Nation. I think everybody that's ever played for the Raiders knows that and would agree with that.
That's really interesting because, most people would think that those times for you, you'd rather forget, that you wouldn't have such sentimentality or nostalgia around that. So does it make you sad to know that Oakland Raider fans won't have a team in Oakland coming up here soon? Absolutely.
I hate that that's happened. Because as bad as the organization has been, over the last couple of decades, that group of fans and the Raider Nation has not faltered. They have not changed. They still show up to games. They still love their team and love the Raiders. And I hate to see that they're moving. And it hurts to see. I think everybody that's ever walked into the Oakland Coliseum, O.co, whatever, I don't even know what it's called anymore. But any player that has played in front of that fan base just feels a connection. There's a different connection to the Raider Nation than there probably is anywhere else in the league, and I hate to see that they're not going to be in Oakland anymore.
You have that wonderful end of your career in Arizona. Bruce Arians, Pro Bowl, 13-3. You throw for 4,000 yards a couple of seasons there. That must have felt like a real kind of blessing, a refreshing, kind of restart for you after the turmoil of the previous couple of seasons. How do you look back on that?
Oh, with nothing but love and admiration for that opportunity to play for Michael Bidwell, to play for Steve Keim and Bruce Arians and the guys I got to play with and the wins I got to be a part of. And, no doubt that was, I was so blessed and fortunate to end up there and be a part of that style of an organization where everything is about winning. It's not about money. It's not about saving money here or there. Everything is focused on winning, and everything is focused on giving the players and the coaches everything they need to perform at their best. And getting a chance to be a part of that atmosphere. And I think Steve Keim is one of the best GMs in the National Football League. I think Michael Bidwell is one of the best owners in all of sports. So to have that opportunity and that chance was amazing. It was an amazing part of my life.
Carson Palmer, A Football Life, premieres Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. NFL Network, the one-hour show features sit-downs with Carson, Larry Fitzgerald, Bruce Arians, Pete Carroll, Chad Ochocinco, and so much more. I'm really looking forward to this. My final question is, I just saw in the news that you sold your Scottsdale home a couple of months ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it said there was a home theater in there. Did you ever watch Red Zone or watch a game film in like a giant home theater? Or was that one of those things just built before you bought it?
Well, it was definitely there before I bought it. But, to be honest, I can't have kids around and asking for a snack and be in a movie theater atmosphere. I needed to be in my office. I needed to have my computers around me. I needed to be able to pull up clips from different games from different years and playing against different coordinators. There was so much that went into my game preparation and studying that I didn't like the theater atmosphere. I like being at a desk with a computer and having all that in front of me.
Yeah, kids needing Twizzlers and got to go to the bathroom and this and that. You can't do that as you're watching film on Sunday's opponent as the Niners come to town or something like that, or the Seahawks come to town or something like that. Carson Palmer joining us here on the show. Carson, can't wait to see the special, man. I'm really looking forward to it. Thanks so much for taking the time out to do this with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Have a great day.
My pleasure, man.